At Third Space Charity, we support a mentally resilient community by offering accessible counseling care to young adults between the ages of 18 and 29. This is Mental Health Matters, where we discuss topics and services related to mental health and wellness in our community.
Welcome to Mental Health Matters. My name is Megan Woodruff, and our guest today is Shannon Christensen of Mamas for Mamas. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming this morning.
Of
I know
course.
you've got a lot going on.
You know what? Busy's a state of mind. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, good. Good stuff. So I know that you've been out there a lot lately. We've seen you doing a lot of press and a lot of interviews. But if there is anybody out there that does not know about Mamas for Mamas, let us know. Fill us in. What is Mamas for Mamas?
Well, Mamas for Mamas is really a specialized poverty relief agency that is based in a grassroots movement of No Mama Left Behind. So, we were born on a social media platform as a means of donating, sharing, supporting, and connecting. It grew into a nonprofit, and then it grew into this charity, that is able to create a safety net with and for the mamas and papas in this community that are just doing their best to raise healthy, happy kids.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, it's community.
You stepped up huge during the fires.
Thank you. The team was, the whole community stepped up during the fires, and we were able to fill a gap. We were able to find a little niche that was really needed, and that was processing in-kind donations and getting them out to the people who needed them, right now. Mm-hmm. And that's what moms do, They know how to distribute things quickly to people who need them.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
And so it's only been a few years since you started. How has the organization grown from that grassroots to now we're across Canada?
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, it was like wildfire. It's the best way to explain it. You know how they say kids, they grow up so fast, you blink and all of a sudden they're 5, and then you blink and they're 20. That's how it feels like it's been with mamas, and my kids. But I blinked, and mamas went from a Facebook group that I was managing, in the off hours. I did trauma counseling during the day, and then, mamas during the night, and my husband worked out of town. So it was this beautiful kind of gap filler for me as well. And then it just became bigger than what I could manage from my garage. And so yes, it's grown from like a $20,000 annual budget back in 2014 to about $5 million budget this year. And we just continue to fill the gaps as they present themselves. So unfortunately, there seem to be quite a few gaps. Yeah. But the goal is to, grow to the point where we can start to decrease the amount of physical locations that we have, because that will mean that we're less needed. That's the ultimate goal, is to work ourselves out of a job.
And it's all resource allocation.
Yeah.
So what's the main need that you see, or the top needs that you see in families?
It's resource navigation. It's like, where do you go for a rental subsidy, a daycare subsidy?
Yes.
It's knowing where to go to figure out what you're eligible for to begin with. And then it's, where do you go when there's nothing else available? And that's mamas, so we go in, we do a comprehensive care plan, and it's meeting the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, really.
Yes.
Do you have housing? That's a big one. Are you safe? That's a big one.
Are you hungry?
Are you hungry?
Yeah.
Are you mentally okay? Have you looked after your basic human needs?
Yes.
Can you access social determinants of health? All of these things really contribute to a healthy, happy family, and many people don't know where to go to access their bottom layer. And so as a result, they never get to the point where they're able to get out of survival and into that place of thriving. So it's really about helping people figure out where to go, help them apply for these things, write the paperwork with them, help them find a way to fax it in or scan it in. It's all of these little things that present massive barriers that Mama steps in to provide a safety net for.
So good. And you mentioned this, you actually started out as a counselor.
Yeah. So I have my master's in counseling psychology, and I specialized in forensics. So I worked with young individuals who had come into problems with the law. Most of these young kiddos, it was Youth Forensic Psychiatric Services. It was a really cool internship, met amazing people, clients and providers. And these were kids under the age of 18 who'd been charged with, violent sexual assault, violent assault, breaking and entering, general robbery, things like that. And they had gone through an unbelievable amount of adverse childhood experiences.
Yes.
And as a result, became perpetrators because that's what they knew. And that was my goal, was to help these kids be kids again, or at least get the opportunity for that. And then it moved into Elizabeth Fry Society, working with the survivors, domestic violence, sexual assault, trauma work. And it just, you know, working in the nonprofit sphere, you do see what works and you see what you'd like to see work better. Gave us an opportunity to build something that fit the needs of the clinician, so that we could be truly client-centered and clinician-centered. Because when the clinicians are really well looked after, the clients benefit 1,000 times over. So in building our mental health clinic at Mama's, we've got 5 employees and a few contractors in that department, and they all have very clinician-centered jobs and work-life experiences so that they can come in to work with a full cup. It's super important.
That really parallels with what we're trying to do with our interns at Third Space too.
Yeah.
We call it the caring for the carers, right?
100%. It's helping to avoid that compassion fatigue and teaching young clinicians how to have boundaries and how to ensure they're not giving all of themselves to their work right off the bat, because that's how you lose really great people early on in their career.
Yes.
You know,
the
they feel
burnout rate is huge.
Massive.
Yeah.
But there are ways for us to avoid it, and it's not just a yoga session once a month or bringing in lunch.
No.
It's really and truly actually giving them an opportunity to have that downtime, let their nervous system come out of fight or flight, and really just understand and experience what it means to have a regulated nervous system for yourself, so that you can do the same for others.
And so on that note, what are the typical things that you do on a regular basis to stay well?
I really, really enjoy my time at home. My introvert time where I do nothing is my favorite thing to do. So just being at home with the kids, you know, letting their friends come over to play, making snacks, like that kind of thing fills my cup, you know, being a mama. And then that gives me my full cup to be the big mama, you know, when I go into the office and do things like that. I love to read. I love to have baths, hot tubs, like really just immerse myself in hot water or sand, you know, like I just like to be like with tactile things that are really like calming and soothing and grounding. So, you know, walking in the forest,
One of our counselors, she says, go put your feet in the dirt.
Dirt therapy. It's one of the best things you can do. You know, plant something. Planted a bunch of garlic a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, there you go.
Just making my home feel like mine, spending time with my family, spending time with my husband and my kids. I mean, I've given up evenings and weekends for years to build Mamas, and I'm very proud of what we've done, and I'm very proud of where we are. But it is time for me to shift back into Mama primary and Big Mama secondary. Yeah, it's a very important shift in life.
Right.
I'm excited for it.
I was thinking about your career, reading up on you, and thinking, at what point in this journey did the children happen, and how did that shift what you were up to in this world?
Yeah, it shifted everything completely. It was, my dad died the day after my wedding, very suddenly of a heart attack, and he was 53. And that shifted my entire, the projection of my life went from get my doctorate and maybe have kids, maybe not, but really focus on having that high prestige position in the community and in the nation. And I wanted to, you know, be the youngest female forensic psychologist in Canada, and I was going to kick ass and take names, and that was my goal in life. And my goal was to make my dad proud. You know, he's this lawyer, he was this like bigger than life, larger than life kind of guy, and I thought like, you know, that's my idol right there. And when he passed, I realized that it gave me the opportunity to look a little further and to see like, what do I want? And I wanted to give back. I wanted to help. I wanted to make life a little softer for people that maybe didn't have what I had. And I felt really privileged. You know, my dad left me with some money and I was able to ask myself what I wanted to do with that. And so I was no longer grinding towards this doctorate. I was gonna do my master's for sure, and I wanted a baby. So we got pregnant 2 months later. I was 22, and it was hard. You know, we bought a house and I started my master's and we got pregnant all within a month. And I mean, you don't know when it's gonna happen, so you just plan life and then everything else happens at once. And I just thought, okay, I'm gonna need some help. You know, and my mom had moved to China shortly after my dad passed away. So it was kind of this like, the breakdown of the family unit was literally happening right in front of me, and I thought, well, that's not going to work. Who's going to be there when I have my kids?
Yeah.
And it just, that was the conversation that had started at that time. And, you know, my first baby was born 7 weeks early, and that was really tough. And so by the time my second one was born, I'm like, I have to do something. And so Jacob was born in August, and it was probably just the following April that I started Mamas for Mamas.
And you started it on Facebook, and it was just born out of the need yourself.
It was just my own need. Yeah, I had things. I had the $1,000 stroller and the big fancy cribs, and I had all this stuff. And there were so many moms out there that I knew were struggling, but I was struggling to figure out, how do I connect with them? I mean, do I just give my stuff away? Do I make conditions around it? Like, this feels weird and elitist and like helper syndrome-y.
Oh, yeah.
And I just didn't like it. So I just thought, I'm going to create a group, and I'm just going to ask people to give their stuff away. And the currency that we'll pay with is like being nice to each other. Because that's the one thing moms really don't have a lot of, is compassion and empathy and understanding. There was a lot of judgment and shame and blame as this means of, if I break this person down, maybe I'll feel a little bigger. Whereas if we each build each other up, we'll all feel a lot bigger. So that was Mamas. It was just this, you know, really impassioned plea of mine to find people that would care about me as a mother.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
And kind of sad. Like, in a beautiful way, like not sad, wah, but sad, like, what place are we in society where we've lost the sense of connection with the people that are birthing the next of our community members?
Yeah.
Why are we being so hard on each other when there is truly an opportunity to be loving, and to be loving to those who need it the very most? It's just challenging that narrative a little bit.
It is, yeah. What I hear in that, in all of what you're saying there, is just how these values of, you know, common humanity and compassion, and I like how you use, like, what did you say about donor? Something about like selfishly donating things, or like,
oh gosh,
what did you say?
Oh, I don't even know.
Anyway,
it's selfish giving.
There you go.
In a lot of ways,
you're doing
right?
it to feel good about yourself, where that's not. So anyway, when I hear those pieces, and then I think about what has been birthed out of that, and how proud are you that those values have literally trickled into the organization? It's
everything. I mean, it really exemplifies the shift of idolizing my father over to idolizing my mom and my nana. It's the yin energy of my family. You know, my nana started the Motherless Babies Home, or helped to start the Motherless Babies Home over in Lagos, Nigeria, when she was stationed overseas in her 40s, or early 30s, or early 40s, late 30s. Anyway, my mom went to boarding school in Rome, you know, very full life, learned 8 languages, you know, very privileged. And my nana had grown up in Canada, in a Catholic orphanage, you know, in a time that was very, very difficult for her to talk about, to express what it was like to not have a community, to not have parents, for her siblings to have been ripped away from her and put in different Catholic orphanages. For her, family was everything. So when she went overseas and her kids were in boarding school, she created a family of her own, of all these babies that had no place to go. And so she you know, built out some infrastructure and went to the ladies who were in her expat community, and each got $100 from them every so often to help build running water, and to bring in malaria nets, and to just build a longer table instead of a higher fence, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was, a bit of a shift, but I think a really important one, a really necessary one, out of yang and into yin in many ways.
You know, when we do this type of work, I just speak from experience because I'm in nonprofit as well. It's our cup gets filled up through doing purposeful work and like living in our values. And so a lot of times, like, it sounds like this could be for you too. It's like a week will go by and you know, you're not necessarily tired or drained because it's so values driven.
Yes. Yes.
And it sounds like when you talk about your nana
Yeah.
and your mom too, it's like these purposeful things, right?
Yeah, and it kind of allows them to live on in everything that we do. My mom is still alive, but she moved over to Africa this year, so she's over there in Malawi teaching. It's what one does when they retire, I suppose.
Must be nice.
It must be nice. My Nana passed away in 2020, and my dad passed away quite a lot earlier in 2009. So it's just,
Right.
you know, how do you bring the people that raised you into the world every day is to bring their values into the world that you live in every day. And their photos. I mean, I've got my dad's photo at the very front of the Karma Market when you walk in, and he's looking over all the ladies, keeping us in check, you know. Some things never change.
So good.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. But it has been interesting in, you know, reflecting back on the question of growth. I would say it's been our biggest win and our biggest fail is how fast we've grown.
Scaling is hard.
Scaling is the hardest part of raising a family, building a business. You know, as you get bigger and you have more responsibilities, so too does your output grow, but then too do your responsibilities every year. Year after year, you have this compounded budget. You've got a compounded program development team. Like, you've got all these extra responsibilities that you're excited for. But it's like, okay, so now what, right? So you get to the point where you are, you know, someone asked me the other day, what's the goal of mamas?
Yeah.
And I had to really think about that, because originally, a couple years ago, I would have said a mama's in every community. But I would say now it's a mama's in every community that doesn't have something already established that could be something to provide resource navigation. I see mamas as something that will continue to grow digitally, but I'm not sure how many more branches I want to go and physically open, because it is me that goes and does it. And I don't mind, I love that work, but at what point does the growth impede Big Mama's life with my kids?
Right.
So they have to come first.
Yes.
And that's where I'm at in my life right now, is I've built Mama's to be a relatively independent little girl. You know, she's very strong. She still needs a mama.
Yeah.
But she's not a newborn. I don't need to be there every day, all day.
Yes.
We have a team for that reason.
Yeah.
So the growth has been my biggest source of pride, my biggest source of pain.
The yin and the yang.
The yin and the yang.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
I might have done things a bit slower, just so we could have done it at the depth for each program, for each branch, as we have at head office, you know?
And but the need was just so great, and
COVID did bring additional needs. So I think that there were what we call COVID branches that launched during the time when people could give us free space because they weren't using it, because nobody was renting spaces.
Yes.
You know, things like that. So it's a really interesting time right now where we get to identify which branches do we want to keep open as a physical branch, and which ones can we do through digital means of support. It's exciting.
Yeah.
You know?
That hybrid kind of approach. Yeah.
And that's the beauty of Mamas, is because we were born online, technically that is our strength. We don't need, the physical location's fantastic.
Yes.
Because it allows the peer-to-peer programming to grow to an organizational support. So the Mums Helping the Mums on the Facebook group, there's tens of thousands of trades going on every day. It's really cool.
Wow.
You're saving so much from the landfill. You're saving these mamas from having to go buy it brand new, and you're building connection between them, which the latter is probably my favorite part of that.
Yeah.
Because now you have somebody that knows the size of your kiddo, and you kind of grow older with them.
Yes.
You know, I have some kiddos I've been trading clothes with for years.
So good.
Yeah.
So let's brag about you for just a little bit.
That's uncomfortable.
So you've won a pretty prestigious award.
I did.
You did.
I did.
So
That's a weird one for me, though. How do you give an individual award? The Meritorious Service Medal.
The Meritorious, thank you.
I know, that's a tough one.
Meritorious Service Medal.
How do you give an individual award?
By the Governor General of Canada has given you this award. Okay.
Yes.
So sorry, finish that thought.
How do you give somebody an individual award for building a community? You couldn't have possibly done this alone. So for me, I appreciate it. I honor it and I respect it, and I'm very grateful for it. But this is a collective award.
So what was that experience like, though, going and receiving that award?
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming. And it made you really reflect, you know, not just on the year before, the couple years before, it made you reflect on the whole experience. What did we build and how did we get here? And wow, I mean,
It takes big moments like that to make you step out and take a pause, probably like when your father passed, right? It's
Yeah.
like those things that are just like, boom.
yeah.
You pull yourself out and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
types of moments.
It's surreal, you know, and my mom was able to be there, which was really special. She flew herself out and
oh, so good.
joined us, and then she had to fly out, I think 2 days later to go to Malawi, so it was pretty special. You know what, it was really, it was humbling.
Yeah.
It was incredibly humbling, and it's hard to wrap your head around, you know, and it just kind of feels like, are you sure? Like there's a lot of people that do a lot of great things, and I'm certainly proud to be considered one of them, but I think that, yeah, I don't know, that
Wow.
one just really felt like it deserved a larger recipient team, so that felt a little odd for me, but I'm working on it.
I think it's just such a beautiful story, and you're so deserving.
Thank you.
If people want to learn more about Mamas for Mamas and what you're up to, how can they?
Well, a few
find
different
you?
ways. I mean, it depends on their preference of, you know, do they like social media? Head over to Instagram. So we do a lot of our public facing, you know, campaigns and announcements. It's where we share what's going on in the world. Newsletters. You know, we send out newsletters, and we're doing it more and more just to keep people in the loop about what's happening and, you know, day to day what events are going on. But then also, yeah, just the website.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got.
Or go into the storefront.
Or yeah, check out the Karma Market. Like we just opened at 1911 Dayton, right across from Third Space.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
just down the street from the Dolphin Avenue location, which is just like so cool that we're right.
You're right
on
there.
each corner.
Yeah.
Oh, hello, flowers. the corners of each of this place, because we had moved the Karma Market off-site for a little while, and it was amazing, but it was 15 minutes away. So
Right.
it's free. We like free space is fantastic.
Yes.
But there's, you know, only so much you can do when there's, you know, you got to take a bus now.
Yes.
15, 20 minutes, and
No,
you know,
it's
your
so
appointment
serendipitous
time
that
and
it's like someone can have their intake
Yes.
and then walk right over.
yes,
Yeah.
it's perfect. So the Dolphin Avenue is all of our clinical headquarters, social workers, counselors,
Yeah.
you know, all that kind of stuff. And then on the other side is the clothing and the market and things like that. So.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you.
It's so great to hear about how it all started, the very beginnings. Thank you so much for being on this episode of Mental Health Matters, and we'll see you next time.